One of the most important companies in the entire world, a company that's literally building the future of AI as we speak, didn't start with some grand plan to change humanity. Nope. Its entire journey began with a much simpler goal, an idea sketched out over coffee in what has to be the most unlikely boardroom in Silicon Valley history.
And when I say important, that's almost an understatement. We're talking about a company with a market valuation that has rocketed past $4 trillion. Now, to wrap your head around that number, it's bigger than the entire economy of most countries on Earth. This isn't just another tech company, it's a global force of nature.
And they are not hitting the brakes. Not at all. Nvidia just announced this massive partnership with OpenAI, which led their CEO, Jensen Huang, to call it the biggest AI infrastructure project in history. The scale of what they're building is almost impossible to imagine, and it's all to feed the world's incredible appetite for AI. So how on earth did a company that was laser-focused on something as fun as making video games look awesome become the absolute essential engine of the AI revolution? Well, that is the incredible story we are going to unpack today. So let's rewind all the way back to the beginning. This journey doesn't kick off in some fancy high-tech lab or a sleek boardroom. No, it starts in a booth, over coffee and maybe some pancakes, at a Denny's. Seriously.
The year is 1993. Three engineers, Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Preem, are sitting there talking. They could see that PCs were about to be everywhere, but they had this one key insight. They realized the killer app that would push computing to its limits wasn't going to be spreadsheets, it was going to be video games. 3D graphics were just so demanding, they knew the old chips couldn't handle it. Something new was needed.
And their whole idea came down to a totally different way of thinking about computing. Okay, so think of a CPU, the computer's main brain, like a brilliant surgeon. It can perform incredibly complex operations, but it does them one at a time, very carefully. The chip they imagined, the GPU, is more like an entire army. It takes a huge problem, like drawing a whole 3D world on your screen, smashes it into thousands of tiny little tasks, and has every soldier work on one piece all at the same time. That's parallel processing, and it's the secret sauce to this whole story.
So, armed with this revolutionary idea, they went looking for money. They managed to get a meeting with the legendary venture capitalist Don Valentine from Sequoia Capital. And after a super tense pitch, he actually agreed to fund them. But he left them with this friendly bit of advice. So, no pressure.
But that initial rush of success and funding, it slammed right into a brick wall. The company's first big product launch wasn't just a failure, it was a disaster that almost took the entire company down with it.
So in 1995, they launched their first chip, the NV1. It was supposed to be this amazing all-in-one chip for graphics, sound, everything you'd want for gaming. Instead, it was a total, catastrophic flop that nearly ended Nvidia before it even really began.
So why did it fail so badly? Well, it was a perfect storm of bad bets. They used the wrong kind of technology, right as the rest of the industry, led by Microsoft, was going in a completely different direction. The chip was way too complicated, way too expensive, and to top it all off, the video game console it was supposed to power, the Sega Saturn, was a massive flop. And if you want to know just how bad it was, get this. They shipped 250,000 of these NV1 chips to their main partner, and that partner sent 249,000 of them right back. They were literally buried in a mountain of chips nobody wanted.
Things got so dire that this quote became the unofficial motto around the office. It was a constant, grim reminder of just how close they were to total collapse. They had to lay off almost half their employees and were just bleeding cash. But this is where the story turns. Staring into the abyss, the team didn't quit. They learned from every single mistake and engineered one of the greatest comebacks in the history of tech.
The comeback really happened in three crucial steps. First, in 1997, their next chip, the Riva 128, was a runaway smash hit that basically saved the company from bankruptcy. Then, in '99, they launched the GeForce 256 and brilliantly marketed it as the world's very first GPU. They literally created the term. And then came the knockout punch. Microsoft gave them a $200 million advance to build the graphics for the original Xbox. That deal gave them the cash and the street cred to become a titan.
So for years, Nvidia absolutely ruled the world of PC gaming. But then they made a decision, almost a side project for developers, that accidentally unlocked a revolution that nobody, not even Jensen Huang himself, saw coming.
Back in 2006, they released a software platform called CUDA.
The idea was pretty simple. Just give developers an easy way to use all that parallel processing power in their GPUs for things that weren't video games. This was the key that finally unlocked the GPU from its cage.
At first, it was a pretty niche tool for scientists doing complex simulations. But then, AI researchers started playing around with it, and they had a massive aha moment. They realized that army of processors, the one that was so good at rendering explosions in a game, was also the perfect tool for the millions of repetitive calculations you need to train an AI. All of a sudden, AI experiments that used to take weeks were getting done in a matter of hours.
And this timeline just shows the explosion that happened next. The release of CUDA led directly to this massive breakthrough in 2012 called AlexNet. It was an AI model that used two regular gaming GPUs to completely shatter all the records in image recognition. That moment was really the big bang of modern AI. Fast forward a decade, and ChatGPT, trained on thousands of Nvidia GPUs, gets released, and, well, the world hasn't been the same since.
And that brings us right up to today. That happy accident with CUDA has totally transformed Nvidia and put it smack dab in the center of this new technological age.
I mean, forget about gaming for just a second. In a single quarter, Nvidia's data center business, that's the part that sells chips for AI, grew by a mind-blowing 427%. That's not growth. That is a fundamental shift into becoming the AI company.
The bottom line is, today, Nvidia's hardware is the gold standard. If you want to build a powerful AI, you're using their chips. Their relationship with the pioneers of this field goes way back. Jensen Huang personally hand-delivered OpenAI's very first AI supercomputer in his car back in 2016. And now, their new project together aims for 1 billion times more computing power than that first little machine.
It's just an absolutely incredible story. An idea to make video games look prettier, dreamed up in a Denny's, somehow became the foundational technology for what everyone is calling the next industrial revolution. It's wild.
So their technology went from powering our entertainment to accidentally powering artificial intelligence. It really makes you wonder, as they keep building these unbelievably powerful computers, what other new industry, what other unimaginable revolution are they going to power next?